Remember David DePape, the illegal alien Canadian who attacked Paul Pelosi in his underwear? Well, he just got sentenced to the penitentiary. Let's talk about it. How's everybody doing? My name is Anthony Brian Logan, and today we got to talk about David DePape, the illegal alien from Canada who allegedly broke into Nancy Pelosi and Paul Pelosi's home and attacked Paul Pelosi while Nancy Pelosi was not there. He got 30 years in the penitentiary making big rocks to little rocks. Now, there are still, in my opinion, a lot of questions. Okay, Nancy Pelosi wasn't there, but is there no security? How did he get into the home so easily? Why was Paul holding a glass of what appeared to be some kind of alcohol? Like, what's going on? If he was in his bed in his underwear, why is he holding a glass of alcohol? There's so many questions, but regardless of what my questions are, David DePape has been sentenced to 30 years in the penitentiary in the USA. Now, next question. Okay, you committed a crime as an illegal alien. Is there deportation afterward? What's going to happen because he was not here legally? It's funny how they will convict an illegal alien that attacks somebody in the government or linked to somebody in the government. They give him a big sentence. But if you're just a regular normie, this might not be what you get in terms of justice. Now, there's a lot more I want to get into, but before we get to the update, let's go back a little bit and look at some of this footage here. Now, what we're going to see here is David DePape break into the Pelosi's home with a hammer, and then we're going to see the police interaction, which is really crazy. I think Paul was able to call the police while DePape was there, but he was in the bed, and then he went and got something to drink. There's a whole lot going on, but let's watch this. Then we're going to get into the update about what's happening now with the penitentiary sentence. So without further ado, let's go ahead and roll it.
She would have broken her kneecaps, but instead Paul Pelosi was the only one home. He ended up calling the police department when officers arrived. Body cam footage shows that David DePape actually hit Paul Pelosi 3 times on the head with a hammer.
This was a really crazy scene. He comes to the door in his underoos with a glass for some reason. Okay, you were in bed. Were you drinking? Why is a glass in your hand still? If you were woken up by this guy with the hammer. Then the police get there because I think Paul had called them and they're confused. They get to the door. They don't know what's happening. And I think at a certain point, the police probably know this is the Pelosi's residence. I would think they know. And then also, where was the security at? I know Nancy wasn't there, but where was the security? A lot of questions, but I digress.
He suffered a fractured skull, actually woke up in a pool of his own blood. DePape was arrested. Now, prosecutors say during this whole trial that he never showed remorse, that he was actually bragging about the attack. He was convicted of assaulting an immediate family member of a federal official, as well as attempted kidnapping of a federal official.
So that's that. Now we're going to get to the actual sentencing here. This is going to be on MS-13 DNC. Let's check it out.
Serious note, the man accused in a frightening hammer attack on Paul Pelosi was just sentenced to 30 years in prison. NBC's Steve Patterson is reporting on this for us. Steve, so how does this sentence compare with what the prosecutors had hoped to get? And then what happens next?
You know, it's a bit of a compromise between what the sentencing guidelines were as set by the probation department, as detailed by the guidelines of the trial, which would have been 25 years. Prosecutors were trying to put a terrorism enhancement on top of that, which would have made it 40 years. So now we're in the 30-year range. We're just hearing from prosecutors who say, quote, today.
Now, what am I looking at here? Is David DePape a journalist? I'm looking at him in certain situations with big cameras and whatnot. Like, what's going on? Who was this guy really?
Today's sentence reflects David DePape's lack of remorse and contrition for violently assaulting Mr. Pelosi. This enhancement was meant to show something of a show of force, right? That you can't assault a public official and get away with it and not face the consequences.
Now, if you assault a regular person in San Francisco, like I saw recently, it was a lady that got hit in the head with a bottle of, what was that, Heineken or something like that? Like somebody went to the liquor store, had a bag full of glass bottles, hit the lady on the head with it, and what's going to be her punishment? What's going to be her sentence when and or if she ever gets locked up? But hey, if you attack the spouse of a government official, they will send you to the penitentiary to make big rocks to little rocks in California.
That is what prosecutors wanted to do. We know this is sort of a middle ground in between.
Look at this. Like, who is this guy right here? This is like kind of expensive, heavy equipment. Who is this person? Was he a paparazzi, just a regular photog, a journalist? Did he work for a company like MS-13, DNC, CNN, CBS, etc.?
Between what was recommended and what actually happened. But prosecutors were essentially trying to add a terrorism enhancement on top of this, is saying that not only did David DePape knowingly assault Paul Pelosi in trying to kidnap Nancy Pelosi, but that was all done in interference with a public official conducting her duties. And not only that, but because he did that and because he said some very serious things in some of the materials that they found, that he was targeting the leader of the pack, so to speak, that he was also interfering with the inner workings of the federal government.
Because one thing about it, and sorry for the freeze frame, my man, but one thing about it, obviously at the time, Pelosi was the Speaker of the House. So that would have been the whole leader of the pack kerfuffle that he was referring to.
He was essentially attacking democracy itself. So again, we have this compromise here, but
that's kind of a stretch. Democracy itself by attacking Nancy Pelosi. I'm not saying you should attack anybody. Keep your hands to yourself. Be a nice person. But democracy, really? That's kind of like Anthony Fauci saying, I am science. So if you criticize me, then you're criticizing science. It's kind of a stretch.
This also runs concurrent. You have to remember this with state charges as well. He's facing 5, which would be life in prison. So he'll do time served. Those charges will run concurrently with this 30-year sentence, but he's going to go to jail away for a long, long time.
Yeah, Alex. And in fact, potentially for the rest of his life. All right. Thank you so much, Steve Patterson.
So that's that. Now, there's more here. Okay, this is going to be from Associated Press. And you see the headline, man gets 30 years in prison for attacking ex-Speaker Nancy Pelosi's husband with a hammer. But what we're going to hear from right here is DePape's ex-wife, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. Okay, this guy at a certain point was married. Let's skip ahead a little bit.
Of violence. And we will continue to work tirelessly to uphold the values of justice and peace in our society.
I think that's quite sad. I think that's a really...
This guy is DePape's son. His name is Sky. S-K-Y. I'm not making this up. Sky Gonzalez. Look at it right here. Sky Gonzalez. Okay.
A long time, because if you think about it, right, he's already nearly 50. He's basically, it's just a death sentence. Like, if you think about it, it's a death sentence.
We're going to appeal this, okay? The reason why I'm not as sad as I would.
Now, this woman's name is Gypsy Taub. Gypsy Taub. I'm not making this up. Gypsytaub. Gypsy Taub. That is his ex-wife. Okay. And she's going to defend him. Why? You broke into, like, let's just say what happened. He breaks into the house and attacks Paul Pelosi. Regardless of who that is, it could be Paul Pelosi or just Frank from down the street, your next door neighbor, your uncle, your Tio, whatever. You break into somebody's house and you hit him in the head with a hammer and put him in the hospital, put him in a coma. I mean, what defense do you really have? Guys like that should go to the penitentiary to make big rocks to little rocks. I don't really see the defense.
Would otherwise be, is because I strongly believe that I create my own reality. We do create our own reality. It's just a matter of learning how to be more conscious about it. I believe that there are forces by far greater than court rules.
She crazy too. So you got a house and family of crazy people.
And court rules change all the time. Laws change all the time as well.
So there we have it. You heard from Sky, David DePape's son, and Gypsy, David DePape's ex-wife. Okay. Now you the ex-wife going to court trying to defend him, talking about, well, we got laws bigger than this. I mean, these people are nuts. But as I close, I want to say this. That is an update right there. You have David DePape getting 30 years in the penitentiary. And I think he probably do all that 35 or at least a majority of it. You're talking about a Fed case. And then after the sentence is complete, if he survives the sentence, because they say he's almost like 50 years old right now, he's in his 40s. So if he'll get out like 70, right around that. So if he survives, he'll probably get deported immediately afterward because, again, illegal alien from Canada. But I think I'll leave that right there for now. And what say you? What's your take on what happened here? Do you think the sentence is appropriate? Do you think that if it was anybody else, if it was a regular normie, do you think there would have been any kind of sentence close to this? Whatever your thoughts are, let me know in the comments below. You guys know where I'm at. I mean, there's still some questions I have. The whole thing with the drink and you and your underoos and You come into the door smiling. It's just kind of weird. But then again, obviously, we got some nut jobs in the family. David DePape probably a few trees short of a forest, a few fries short of a Happy Meal, a few crayons short of an entire 64-count box. Maybe that's what's going on, and that's why I look so crazy. But I still have questions. Do you think the sentence was appropriate? Should it have been more? Should it have been less? Whatever your thoughts are, please let me know in the comments below. And that's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.